Hi there, you're watching Transfer Talk. It is time to check in with another European football expert now, and I'm very pleased to say we're joined by Dutch journalist Elko Born now. Elko, good afternoon to you, and we're going to start by talking about a Dutchman playing in the Premier League in Donny Van De Beek. He's not been given much of a chance at Manchester United. We've actually got some stats that we can bring in now. It shows he's had just 362 minutes this season. He's way down there at the bottom of this list, comparing him to other midfielders at Manchester United. Why do you think that is? And does this just highlight how much he does need a move?
Well, I'll be honest, I think a lot of people in attendance were quite surprised to see that Donny Van De Beek hasn't been able to play very much for Manchester United so far. I think part of what we're seeing here is another piece of proof, perhaps, that the demands that are put on players in the Premier League are very different from demands put on players in the Eredivisie, the Dutch league. Van de Beek did very well at Ajax. He did very well in their title-winning side. They won the Dutch league. They came very far in the Champions League as well in 2019, but in a very specific team that played a very specific style of football. And apparently, what we might be saying here is that is not a way of football that fits the way Manchester United plays, perhaps fits the way that teams in the Premier League play generally. Perhaps the style of football in the Premier League is a lot more physical than the style of football played at Ajax. And I think, we're not sure, but I think we might be able to say that Solskjaer first and now Rangnick, the new Manchester United manager, apparently they see things in training they don't like. And so far, it hasn't really worked out for Van de Beek at all, of course.
OK, Elko, what about the future of Steven Bergwijn? He's had his fair share of injuries, I think it's fair to say. Started just 3 times in the league this season. Ajax reportedly interested in the player. What do you know? What can you tell us?
Well, I think Ajax are definitely interested. Ajax likes signing players from bigger leagues, for example, the Premier League, as a Dutch side. They did this with Dusan Tadic a couple of years ago, who they signed from Southampton. Normally, players move away from the Dutch league. They might move away from Ajax to a bigger club in the Premier League, for example, like Donny Van De Beek did. But for them, this might be an opportunity to sign a player from a bigger league, the Premier League, and get them back to Ajax, back to the Dutch Eredivisie, to have them play for Ajax. Of course, Steven Bergwijn is from Amsterdam. He played for Ajax in the youth setup. Later, he left for PSV Eindhoven. But I think Ajax see this as a great opportunity to get a relatively experienced player for Ajax standards. They're used, of course, to fielding young players from their own youth academy, to get them back from a big league, get them to Ajax and play for them. And I think they see this as a real opportunity. And if they have this opportunity, they will do their best to sign him.
And Elko, you mentioned there are lots of players linked with a move away from Ajax to the Premier League. A player that is being linked at the moment is Nicolas Tagliafico, linked with a move to Newcastle. Plenty of players being linked with the club at the moment, of course. What sort of player is he, and would he be suited to the Premier League?
Yeah, I think of all Ajax's players, he might be an example of a player who is suited to the Premier League. Ajax got him a couple of years ago. They signed him with a specific intent to get a player who's a bit more physical, who knows how to run a lot, track back a lot, to attack as a left back, but to run back as well, and to tackle and to bring something, a bit of harshness, a bit of grit. Ajax is very self-aware. They know that sometimes they lack this type of quality in players. It's not something that's really focused on in Ajax's youth academy. So they signed Tagliafico a couple of years ago, specifically to get some Argentine grit into that team, and it worked like a charm. Tagliafico was a great addition to the team for a couple of years. He featured in that Ajax side who got quite far in the Champions League to the semi-final in 2019. At the same time, Ajax are used to their players leaving after a couple of years. Tagliafico wants to move away from Ajax. He would want to move to the Premier League, I think. So if this deal could happen, I think both Ajax and Tagliafico want it to happen. And I think Newcastle could get a player who's quite tough, who's quite physical, who's a real runner, a real modern left back, who played for the Argentine national team as well. And I think it could be a good signing.
Away from the Premier League, we know about the financial struggles of Barcelona. They're offloading players. Do you think Memphis Depay could be one of them? And if so, where could he go?
It's a difficult situation for Depay. I think Ronald Koeman got him in to Barcelona not too long ago because he knew Depay from his time as manager of the Dutch national team. And in this period of time, they had a real good connection, Koeman and Depay. It just worked. I think sometimes Depay in the Netherlands has had a reputation of being a bit of a tough player to fit in your team. But because of his connection with Koeman, because they have a good bond at the Dutch national team, this relationship worked really well between Koeman and Depay. I think that's a big reason why Koeman wanted to get him to Barcelona. But it's a difficult one now. Of course, Koeman is gone. Xavi's the new Barcelona manager. So what happens with Depay? He hasn't done as good as might be expected of a player, a striker, an attacker for Barcelona. On the other hand, at Manchester United as well, when he played there, Depay, he didn't quite live up to expectations either. So I think the question now is Depay good enough? Can he make it at a really big club, for example, Barcelona or Manchester United before this? Or is it time for him to maybe take a step back? Before this, between Manchester United and Barcelona, he played in France, and maybe the French league is better suited to him. Maybe a club like Olympique Lyon, where he played for in France, maybe that's a better club for him. Maybe Barcelona is one step too far for him. But this will take some thinking on his part on what type of move he wants to make, and of course, what type of club are interested in signing him now.
Potential moves for us to keep across. Elko, thank you so much for joining us on Transfer Talk. Lovely to talk to you.